Harness Projects is an education provider that teaches courses in digital marketing, UX design, and product management. All of our courses follow a real project learning model where our students basically work on live company challenges while we train them. We pride ourselves on being the only provider that helps students gain skills and experience all in the one course. So for tonight's webinar, we're going to be exploring the career pathways into digital marketing and how to give yourself the best chance at landing a digital marketing role. We have an awesome group of industry leaders and harness mentors on our panel tonight. Hello, ladies. To set the scene, each of our guests will share their own personal stories on how they developed their careers to become senior digital marketers in their field. But before we kick off, just a few quick housekeeping comments. At the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A button. Please use this button to post your questions to the panel, and we'll do our best to field those questions in the Q&A section at the end of each of the panelists' introductions. I also have a set of questions I'll be asking our panel tonight, but this webinar is really about you, the audience, so please don't be shy. Send in your questions and we'll tailor this so it's as beneficial as possible. Alrighty, so to kick things off, I would like to welcome each of our lovely guests tonight. Ashley Bruton is the head of social at Digitas, part of the Publicist Group. We also have Jessie Lin, head of digital marketing at StockSpot, and we have Tiffany Eng, founder at The Social Story. Welcome to all of you, and I really appreciate your time tonight. Okay, so to kick off, how about anyone want to go first, or shall I pick?
Oh, you pick, Chris. Go on.
All right. Well, then, because you were first, Ashley, I'll say you. Do you want to take it away and give us a little bit of an introduction on yourself and your career in digital marketing?
Yeah, too easy. Hi, everybody. I can't actually see anyone's faces, but I'm hoping there are people there that I'm talking to. As Chris mentioned, I'm currently the head of social at Digitas Australia and across most APAC markets at the moment. So Digitas is a digital marketing agency. We currently have 59 offices worldwide. And as Chris mentioned, we are part of the Publicist Network, which is currently the largest advertising company in the world, which is a nice claim to fame. So at Digitas, our credo is truth, connection, wonder, which we try and live and breathe that in everything that we do. And our logo is a unicorn, which has a really long backstory that I'm not going to bore you with. But it has now become a vision for not only the type of people that we bring into our family and our team, but also for the work that we do, as we don't believe in doing anything stock standard or boring. So I've been at Digitas for only 2 years now, but my career in advertising is probably about 10 years long. I actually started in advertising by complete accident, which is quite funny when you think this webinar is about how to land a job in digital marketing. But I was at university. I was actually studying a business degree and event management. And at the same time, I was volunteering for a charity called Bear Cottage, where I was running their events. And at one of the events, there was this woman who kept approaching me who was, to be honest, quite annoying because I had a job to do. She kept trying to come up to me and ask me questions and ask about so many different things. And I kept ignoring her because I was there to run an event. And then she actually called me the following week and offered me a job at Foxtel Media. So that's a company that runs all of like the ads that happen on Foxtel, essentially. At the time, it was called MCN. Didn't know anything about it, but it was a job, and I was a poor uni student, so I was like, absolutely, let's do this. But it was working in experiential events, and I ended up working there for about 3 years. And throughout that time, I was running most of their events. So when they did things like the Australia's Next Top Model tour, I would run all the tours for those events and work with our brand partners in that. And what I learned whilst doing that is through all the talent that we had at Foxtel, there was a really, I guess, easy win in capitalizing off their presence online. And this was before influencers were a thing. Like, I think there was like only mummy bloggers out there in the world. But I started seeing like a real connection between what they could do and how we could really elevate the campaigns and what we were doing on TV through online. So I started going more into that area. And then I actually left MCN or Foxtel Media after 3 years and moved to a boutique influencer agency. It was the first one to ever launch in Australia. It was called the Remarkables Group at the time, and there was 3 of us when I joined. So when I say boutique, I mean very, very boutique. But we worked with some of like the biggest brands, working on all of their influencer strategies. And then that obviously developed into social media as a whole. And I worked there for another 3 years. Amazing experiences. I got to work across things like Woolworths and Qantas and these like massive names with such a little team that that really taught me so much about just the industry and so much experience around like the different levels and everything that you have to do that goes into a campaign. Sorry, I am just talking and talking, so I will stop soon. But after my time with the Remarkables Group, I moved to a wider social agency called Social Soup. Again, it was still influencer led, but I came on as their partnerships director to really lead all of their influencer partnerships. And I was only there for a year when I was actually approached about a role in the States. So I ended up moving to New York and worked across for a company called Penske Media Group, which owns Rolling Stone magazine and Variety and Hollywood Life and honestly so many others that I couldn't even name if you held a gun to my head. But I worked as their digital marketing director and their performance director there. So it was really looking at how to take their offline publishing and their magazines and build a digital presence for them. And some were really easy to do, others were really difficult. And to be honest, working for a traditional publisher, trying to push how important digital is was quite the challenge. So I got very good at having difficult conversations during my time there. And it was an amazing experience, and just really, I think, looking at those connection points and again, how digital really elevates everything that is happening in like on every other medium. It's really that connection point to really drive that cohesive story, I feel, for a brand, regardless of what type of brand it is. Because I'm sure everyone here can agree that we do spend most of our time online. And I'm really hoping that's not just me, even though I do say that my TikTok scrolling is research, but my boss doesn't actually believe me when I say that. But I came back from the States 2 weeks before the pandemic happened. So a few different reasons, like I would have stayed in the States forever. Living in New York was amazing, and I could literally do a whole separate webinar just on my favorite bars and restaurants that I went to. But I ended up coming home because my brother was having a kid and my best friend was having a kid, and there's a lot of things bringing me home. And luckily I did, because the whole world went into lockdown 2 weeks later. So yeah, I came back, joined Digitas, and have been working on really elevating our social story across the whole publicist group. So whilst my role is specific to Digitas, I do work across almost every other agency, really driving, I guess, our best practice and how brands should be operating in social media and then digital as a whole as well. And it's been amazing. I get to work across clients like Tourism Australia, which when you say you do the marketing for Australia, that is, a pretty good claim to fame. And then I also work across things like Jeep, Westpac, and some really, really big brands that I just adore. We're so lucky to have the brands that we do and the work that we do, and be in a position where we can, I guess, work with brands that are always trying to innovate, not doing the same thing over and over again. So that's pretty much my career in a nutshell. I am going to stop talking now and hand it over to one of the other girls. But I'm really excited to be here. So I hope everyone can get some value from it.
Amazing. Thank you, Ashley, for that background. It goes without saying that there's a lot of history and experience here, even just from Ashley's background. I think if that has prompted you to ask some questions around those different areas that Ashley's been a part of, I've got one question that I'm dying to ask you, but I've written it down for later. Then this is a great opportunity. So please take it up. So why don't we pass on to Tiff? Do you mind sharing a little bit about your history and how you landed in digital marketing?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. And just to start, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. I'm here on the Gadigal land, so pay my respects. So I am currently the founder of The Social Story, which is a social media agency for purpose-driven brands. I've also been in this social space for about a decade now. I started actually studying communications at uni and poli-sci, and just did a lot of internships and a lot of volunteering, mainly for activist organizations, and then across the whole communications industry, from publicity firms to marketing firms to everything in between. So it was a combination of just being the young kid in the office and being the intern that you just got handed the socials and they were like, do something with this, you understand Facebook. But it wasn't actually until my final internship that we did as also a part of my uni degree that I realized that social is actually a very legitimate role here and something I could pursue. So I actually got a job out of that final internship at Ogilvy PR in their social team. And then from there, have just kind of moved more and more social. So then I went into a socially led specialist agency called We Are Social. And so through my years at agency, it was a really fantastic experience to learn on some really great clients, multinational clients like Microsoft, Samsung, Activision, Roadshow Films, and things like that. Just really understanding the whole breadth of social and how it fits into the ecosystem of marketing communications in general, but also how it is a really specific medium, and we really should be adapting to it in a very innovative way, just because we all use it so differently and it changes so often. But then now it's about 4 or 5 years ago, kind of realized that there was still something missing. And I think that piece of the activism that I did previously was that big thing that I was looking for in my career. So I actually started traveling and traveled up until the world said I needed to come back home. I was doing that whole digital nomad thing. They were talking about living across Southeast Asia and Europe and South America, working wherever there was Wi-Fi, and it was amazing. It was a really great opportunity to just embrace the fact that, internet is accessible everywhere, and particularly roles in social are available everywhere, but also as a chance to build a really global community of people. And so building my own business became, one, out of necessity because I wanted to keep traveling, but also finally this chance to bring all those worlds together of my purpose, of everything I've learned, and this remote world. So the social story is really a manifestation of all of that. We're purpose-driven because I want to be working with companies that are pushing the bar forward, particularly around the SDG goals, so the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Predominantly for me, that's around diversity and inclusion, gender equality, and also sustainability. So we've been lucky to work with clients from a sustainable skincare brand to a recycling program for your sports shoes, to an events planner over in the US who also does nonprofit events and things like that. But also it's, a chance for us to really lead the conversation on how everyone can be using social media better. As much as I would have loved to just continue living on a beach, I was like, social's where it's at. That's the power that's going to keep me going. I do have a very optimistic belief that social is how we could change the world if we're all empowered to actually understand how we can do it better. And so a big part of what we do is also the education of our clients and just people in general about, what social is and how we can use it for our own power. And so, that's kind of where we're at the moment as an agency, just trying to make the world a better place, one tweet at a time.
Awesome. Thanks, Tiff. That was great. And kudos to you for taking the courage to go out and start something, because that is not an easy task. And it's great to have a founder on the panel as well, just for that different perspective. Well, Jessie, do you want to take it next?
Sure. Thank you, Chris. And what an amazing story, Tiff. That is super inspiring. Hey guys, I'm Jessie. I am the head of digital marketing at StockSpot. We're Australia's largest investment advisor. What we do is essentially people tell us what their goals are, and we help them to put together a diversified portfolio to get to their investment goal. Whether it is investing for kids, buying their first home, getting ready for retirement, or simply building wealth. Our clients range from people, little kids that start investing with as little as $2,000 to people that manages their money, their family's money that are up to millions. But we are excited to make investing accessible for people that have, not too much to invest with. And I work with a group of amazing people that are very passionate at what we do. Similar, same, but different story. I've also kind of, started my career not knowing that I am going to be a digital marketer at all. I think, Tiff, actually, reflecting back 10, 12 years ago when we were at uni, digital marketing wasn't really a thing. I actually went to uni, wanted to be an investment banker. Ta-da! And also did a bunch of internships and realized investment banks weren't my thing. I had this opportunity to work very closely with the marketing team when I was interning overseas and absolutely fell in love with marketing. I love the fact that it's so customer centric. I love the fact that you can be creative. I love the fact that if you actually, found a brand that you believe in and found something that you love, you can help amplify the brand to add value to people's lives. And because of that experience, I took up marketing as the third major at my uni, 3 majors. Oh, that took so long. But I graduated very, luckily with a marketing graduate program where I had the opportunity to do all sorts of marketing. Partnerships marketing, retail marketing, where I actually had, the opportunity to do store merchandising and all of that, and digital marketing. And guess what? Absolutely fell in love with digital marketing. I love both the science and art component of digital marketing. The fact that you can use your creativity in combination with data and analytics to help, understand what sort of things triggers what behavior. And yeah, since then I've, worked on SEO, digital campaigns, so performance marketing, conversion rate optimization, experimentation, as well as, marketing technologies. So I've worked at Bupa Australia for about 6-7 years. And during that time, I was also very passionate at the startup, in the startup space. So if you think about working in a corporate, it's like, you are a soldier in a big army and your job is to make sure you march at the same pace as everyone else, towards a common goal. Working at a much smaller company is, a lot more agile, a lot quicker, but again, you have to be resourceful. You have to find things to get you to the next battle, to, get to things super quickly. And I absolutely enjoy what I do here. People often tell me, do you love what you do? I'm like, I love what I do. And how do I tell you how much I love what I do? I literally jump out of the bed every day, super excited to go to work, super excited to work with my team. And I don't know, if they will see this video, but I absolutely enjoy working with everyone at StockSpot. And this is my digital marketing journey so far. And I'm excited to be here today as well. So.
Thank you, Jessie. That's great. Love to hear that passion for the team. It's such an important part of, being in a role that you're fulfilled with and being around people that inspire you and help to lift each other up. And that's a big part of my experience in digital has been like that. There's been a lot of, very sort of motivated people in that space. So, with that said, we'll jump into the Q&A section now of the webinar. So I'm going to go through some questions just in different theme areas to just start to unpack a little bit more about what we can learn around getting roles into digital marketing, how do we prepare for those roles, general themes around digital marketing as well. And thanks for those who are sending through your questions. I will get to them ASAP. We'll pick them off one by one. So I just want to start with one question that actually came from the panel, which I think is a really great one to start with. And it's really to ask, can you give us a succinct definition of digital marketing? I'd love whoever wants to take that question. I'd love to get your thoughts on how you would define this space.
Oh, I think that's such a loaded question because it covers so much. And it's actually something that we talk about quite often at Digitas because we are purely a digital marketing agency. So trying to, I guess, define what lines we play in and what we cross into is really hard. For me, digital marketing is anything where you are trying to communicate a message online or digitally. Digitally makes more sense if I say that. I think it's really looking at, I guess, how you take whatever a brand story is and then how you format that into the correct channels and the way that that should be communicated that's most natural to whatever area that you're talking in, whatever format, whatever, I guess, channel, whatever that is. It's really making sure that that brand story is accurate, but also communicating the way people want to be spoken to.
Yeah, I like that definition because it's broad enough, because even to define social, I find can be quite limiting, because social is very diverse as well, whether you're talking about paid social, influencers, as you say, social content marketing. So I think taking it from an understanding of like, yeah, it's just communication ultimately is great, but the roles and the skill sets needed throughout the whole industry are as diverse as like technology, like, yeah, like IT, that could be, you know, from fixing up my email to, you know, coding the next Facebook. So yeah, like it's definitely as broad as it is specific, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Great, thanks, Lee. That was helpful. Okay, so just from each of you, if you had to sort of pick one thing that you really love about being a digital marketer, what would you put your hat on for that question?
I would jump in there. I think it's because it changes so much that, you know, yeah, I mean, we've said it a million times already, like 10 years ago, even 2 years ago, the whole landscape has completely changed. And being in that mindset of really understanding what is next, how to adapt and really challenge yourself is just so exciting. Like there is no rule book to it. You know, you just have to kind of keep being on your toes and trying to evolve with the times. And that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, I would have to agree. For me, it's the fact that it's completely different, even day in and day out. I think the fact that you're constantly learning in this space, like there is, I'm referred to as an expert, and that makes me uncomfortable because literally by the next day, there will be something else that I have no idea about and I have to go and learn about that. Mm-hmm. Like even my day today, I spoke about NFTs, which please don't ask me any questions about NFTs because I still don't know what they are. I was talking about creating a whole metaverse for another client and then as running a live event streaming on another one, all in the space of like 2 hours. And if you had told me like 2 years ago that that's what I would have been doing, I'd have been like, what the hell is a metaverse? So I think the fact that it's just constantly changing, it means that you never get bored. Unless I'm doing finance, then I'm bored.
I would say it's really rewarding. Rewarding not from a, I guess, you know, purely money sense, but in a way that you are empowering people's lives at a channel that they're already in. You're talking to them when they're on Instagram, when they're on Facebook, when they're searching, looking for the next how-to question on YouTube. So that is rewarding if you are there to, you know, empower their lives. But also in a way that I feel like personally it's really rewarding when you can scientifically test your creativity, because, you know, often people stereotype marketers a lot. People, you know, everyone can be a marketer. You know, you guys just, you know, sit on beanbags and come up with ideas, and you know, this is all you guys do. But with digital marketing, you have to be, you can scientifically back up why certain decisions are made, and this is why I absolutely love, you know, the art part of it and the science part of it.
Awesome, thanks for that. So we have a question from Cara, who's on the guest list tonight. I'll just read this out. There's 2 parts to this question. I have my degree in photography and would love to get into digital marketing, but I don't know where to start. Should I consider undertaking some courses or just try to intern somewhere until I learn? Second part to the question is just a side note of also, I don't have a hugely statistical mathematical brain. Is that necessary to work in marketing? I have creativity and innovation by the bucket loads, but I'm worried my lack of ability in statistics will hold me back.
Absolutely not. Just to answer that part, like, it's embarrassing how little simple maths I can do.
Mhm.
Like, if I get asked a question about anything, like, I'm not even kidding. If I had to work out like 25 divided by 2, I would need to use a calculator. So don't. It is hard, right? So don't let that deter you at all. I think that, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of data involved and is a lot of numbers. And I love that fact, like Jessie was saying, and being able to like prove the stats behind what you've put forward. And I think that's mostly just because I like to be right. And when I've got stats to back it up, then it proves that I was. But in terms of having to have that mindset, absolutely not. I don't think it's necessary, even slightly. To answer the first part of your question, a degree in photography is amazing. First of all, well done on being so creative. And I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think I have a degree in event management and business, which was, like Jessie, kind of going to lead me into finance, which is hilarious when I think of it now. But I don't have a digital marketing degree, so you don't necessarily need that. I think doing all you can to learn more is amazing, and it's definitely going to give you a step up over any other applicants. But by the sounds of it, it's you have the right attitude. And for me, I hire based off attitude because I feel like I can teach whatever I need to, as long as there's an eagerness to learn and that's been demonstrated for me. I think, yeah, you're on the right path. So I wouldn't say go straight into uni and do a whole other degree. I would look at your other options and see where you can learn skills whilst also getting real life experience.
Yeah, and I jump in, like, I do have a communications degree, and not much of it was very applicable to me in social. I think we did 1 week on social and it was quite outdated. At that point, I'd already started my job, so it was very interesting to see what they were trying to teach us in the classroom versus, in the workplace. So, I mean, that was a little while ago, so uni, please don't come after me. But at the same time, like, there is a lot, as we said, like, social does change a lot. So a lot of like transferable skills are actually really useful in the world of digital marketing. So I don't think like degree really does factor into that. But in terms of like just getting on board, getting experience, and also social is very different. There's all the very creative types versus the strategic minds versus the data heavy people. We need all of them in the industry. So it's a bit of kind of picking your battles and knowing your, sphere of excellence and applying that to where you want to go.
Awesome. Thank you. That was a great answer, and totally makes sense. I think degrees have their place, but it's not necessarily a mandatory aspect for this space. A lot of the case, and that's a lot of the case with digital skills in general. So next question is from Victor Harris, who's asking, how long do you aim to do internship or unpaid work for prior to landing a paid marketing role? And what would you say is important, mandatory to highlight in a marketing portfolio? So 2 parts to this question. Let's tackle the internship unpaid work side first.
I think internships should be paid.
Yes, I would.
So first of all, if anyone's asking you to do an unpaid internships, no, you should be paid. If a brand's asking you to, do an unpaid internship, unless, they are not getting paid, it's a complete social course, no one is getting paid, then fair enough, no one's getting paid. But if everyone else is getting paid and you're not getting paid, that's illegal. That's right. And you don't need to have, I guess, what they called real life marketing experience to land on a marketing role. If you have the right attitude, if you have, transferable skills where, for instance, if you used to work at Macca's and you're great at communicating with others and, solving complicated, customer related issues. If you used to work in the contact center where you understand customers' pain points really well, where are you used to man your mom and dad's, corner store where you're very good with people. Those are the soft skills that you can transfer into your role when you apply for a marketing job. So I don't think it's necessary for you to say, do a year of internship before you start applying for a marketing role. I think you can start applying as long as you feel like this is what you want to do and you understand the basics of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think to the question around a portfolio necessarily, if you're applying for like an entry level position, I don't think anyone should expect you to have a portfolio at all. I mean, obviously like unis and stuff, there are work that you can show, but for me, it's not about that. One of my staff members who's now actually just got a promotion today to a manager level. So she's been working with us for about 2 years. She actually blew me away in an interview because she came in and said, I have absolutely no experience, but these are my top 5 favorite ads. And these are my top 5 worst ones that I don't like, and gave me a rationale for them. So I got a good understanding of her experience, like her actual thinking, I should say. So I think there are so many ways you can impress without having to pull out a portfolio of work. And when you're at an entry level position, honestly, your roles on any sort of portfolio that you've done probably aren't going to be like the biggest and most exciting. So you just identify what your skills are and where your strengths lie and demonstrate that instead.
Yeah, 100%. I think, if you look at the managing directors or CEOs of most digital marketing or social media agencies, they started their careers when social didn't exist. So, saying that you need 10 years experience in social just to land a role, is just moot at this point. Yeah, it is around those soft skills and those transferable skills. So when I'm hiring, I'm more interested in seeing a willingness to learn, a willingness to adapt, and things that can transfer into any point of, a social media management system, whether it is like from creating graphics, so attention to detail, to like just having that kind of great, conversational tone of voice that, social does open up to. And that can't be taught in a school nor, demonstrated through experience anywhere else.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lise. Just follow on from Victor. This was in doing unpaid marketing work, but we might just say that even for paid marketing work, what sort of strategies, quantifiable metrics do you bring to the table, if any, or would you be handed the strategy and it would be your job to execute? So I assume perhaps in like an internship role or sort of an early entry level role. Let me know if I've got that right, Victor. What do you need to bring to the table in that type of context?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, because I think that if you're in an entry level role or a paid internship, because it definitely shouldn't be unpaid, I think that it's 100% around the attitude that you bring, and I guess a willingness to learn off the other people who are working on it as well. I would never hand something to one of my junior staff members and expect them to deliver it in full. My role is to help guide them and show them what to do, and like they bounce off each other. They come with ideas and then we work through what the best approach is. So again, I feel like I've said it so many times, but it's really about the attitude that you bring and like your willingness to get involved and dive in the deep end to see if you can swim or whether you need a life raft. And if you have good managers, they're there for when you do need the life raft. So for me, yeah, it's all about the attitude and just being willing to participate.
And I think bringing a fresh perspective is really important, because, I know, when you first start as an intern, a lot of the time you're doing like data entry or some tasks that things have always been done that way. But if you're able to be more inquisitive and analytical about it and go, hey, what if we do it this way, and take that initiative, you can really make an impact with the people you're working with. And then you can be thinking about it in different ways, as both being the young kid who came into the office and was like, but why don't we talk about it this way? And now being the one who brings in the young kids, and I'm like, oh, yes, TikTok, I know what this is about. It is really useful that like your unique experience with social and how your peers are using social particularly, or just how to run a bit, like put a spreadsheet together or anything, can really be beneficial to. Don't be afraid to also come with, what you think, and, help the business be more effective as well.
Yeah, I've recently done the digital marketing fundamentals course at Harness Projects, and something that I kept on telling my students is don't expect day one you go into the business and they're like, okay, Jesse, give me the 10-page strategy deck for this particular segment of customers. As long as you have the basics and understand, the terminologies, it'll give you already a head start. Essentially, people are willing to train you even if you don't have the knowledge, if you have the right attitude. However, if you have, basic understanding of digital marketing, that's going to help you to excel what you do and help you to pick up things, when you start the job.
Yeah, it sounds like one of the themes I'm hearing is you get better at this by doing it. You get better by getting that hands-on experience, whether it's in a working context, whether it's in an internship or a course that offers that. These are all opportunities to really just almost through trial and error, learn what works and what doesn't in this space. And I think if your attitude is the anchor to support you through that journey, it sounds like that's the thing to really think about, and not to be discouraged if you don't necessarily have the skills or the experience for those early roles. Okay, so let's move on. I've got a whole bunch of questions around that finding a role period of the digital marketing journey, and so let's dive into that a little bit. I'd like to ask the panel what your individual process is when reviewing a job application. So, what do you look for first, and what are some of your internal filtering rules that you ask in your mind when you're looking at a job application?
I really like to start with why they're looking for it. So that initial mission statement or cover letter or whatever they decide to present us with, why they're motivated to actually work for your company directly. So, that specificity is always great. I'm still a very small team, speaking for myself. And so when applications come in, we're skimming, just having a look at what's most important. And very general applications or people that don't really understand our business and what we're about and how they can actually, bring something new to us, tend to kind of get I'll get back to that later, but people are very motivated and can communicate that clearly and what value they bring to us. I'm definitely going to jump on a call straight away, and from there I think I can gather more information over a call or a catch up, but that first step is really making it more personal and why they're motivated to join us.
Yeah, definitely. I might have a bit of a vain answer, to be honest, but for me, it's how different the resume actually looks. If I see a pop of color in there, I'm automatically attracted to it. If it's a standard Microsoft Word template, it usually doesn't get as much attention as one that looks a little bit more exciting. And to be honest, I think that's because of the nature of what I do. Working in social, usually I'm hiring for hybrid creative roles or strategist roles where I need them to, be able to communicate visually through whatever mediums that we're going to be operating on. So if they can demonstrate that in those really minute details, I think that's always a plus, and it always gets a second glance. And then I move on to the mission and vision statements. Probably a vain answer, but color distracts me apparently. I think the other thing as well is I've had some of my best applicants have had a bit more of a personal touch to it. Don't get me wrong, I've had many cover letters that have a different company's name in it that's so clearly copied and pasted, and they automatically, that attention to details out of the window. I think anything that is personalized, that talks to what my brand stands for, or even mention some clients that we've worked on, which is so easy to get. All you have to do is look at our socials or our website, do very minimal amount of research. Or in some cases, I've actually just hired someone who reached out directly to me on LinkedIn. So they applied. It had been a long application process and I hadn't even looked at the resumes yet. And she reached out to me to LinkedIn. So she obviously did some stalking, looked at who runs the social department, sent me a message saying that she was really excited by the role that we had offered, and at the very least, if she could buy me a coffee at some point in the future, just because she would like to get to know me and get an understanding of what we do. And obviously that sparked me to then go look at all the resumes and look at hers. And I did end up hiring her because she was the best fit, not because she just offered to buy me a free coffee. But I think anything with that personal touch is always a win.
It leaves an impression for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. And I just wanted to ask one of the questions. I've just scrolled down the list here, and this might challenge, I guess, one of the responses we gave earlier, which I think is sort of healthy. We all spoke about attitude and, the eagerness being such an important factor. And I think we touched on some of the answers to this question about, and this is from Shona Candish. I've just summarized her wording a little bit, but we've said that soft skills, transferable skills are enough to get into the industry. But what happens when you're looking at roles, and even entry-level roles, and they're asking for experience? What do you recommend as the best approach for applying for these roles? Obviously, Ashley mentioned, the sort of roundabout ways of getting yourself noticed, whether it's a visual treatment on your application or reaching out individually. But any other thoughts on that type of predicament?
Yeah, I think the best way is to be upfront about it. If I know, like, job descriptions have 10 set requirements, which honestly they probably don't even need all of those requirements. Like, some of them are nice to have and some of them are absolutes. But I think if you can address that in your cover letter, so say if they're saying you need paid social experience, I would do some research, learn how you can learn about paid social, which is Facebook blueprint training, and address that in your cover letter and say, look, these are the skills that I do have. I unfortunately haven't had a chance to work on XYZ yet, but I'm looking into this, or I have an eagerness to learn about that, or I hope that you can mentor me and grow me in that area. Because for entry-level roles, if there is an expectation that you have had years of experience, that's a joke. And it's probably not a company you should be working for, to be honest, because they have unrealistic expectations. So I would just, if there is a role that you're really excited about and you don't check every single box, I would address that in a cover letter. And as I said, be a bit personal about it and show them that you've read the job description and you've done your research.
Yeah. And we've created a lot of roles around people as well. So I actually work a lot with specialist freelancers who specialize in a certain area and then say they want to learn more about a certain area as well. So I've rarely actually put PDs together, like job descriptions, and hired for a specific role. And we're very willing to create a role around the person and move our resources around for that. So for me, a big part is, as you said, what experience do you have and what are you willing to bring? And then from there, we can kind of make it work in a sense, the hours and, having particular years in a certain place isn't as important as, what other value, is it the creative side, the strategic side that you're bringing? That sort of thing is more interesting to me.
Yeah, I probably have a little bit of a different answer here because I'm the person that creates the JD, and then says some experience is preferable. That's usually used to filter out candidates because often for a role that's competitive, you get 90 people applying for it. It's often difficult for the HR to call all 90 of people. But in saying that, I've often have, because usually in the roles, the organizations that I've been in, the HR will be the first person contacting the candidate. They would often come back to me and go, hey, Jessie, I met this person, say her name's also Jessie. She doesn't have, much experience, but she's done a lot of online courses. She's volunteered at this thing on her, during the weekend, she does this. It's all, this role related, though she doesn't have a full-time, experience. And this person is extremely passionate what they do. They're well articulated. It seems like it'll be a great fit culturally. Meet her or meet him. This is when we were like, yeah, sure, why not put them, through the next round. I don't think it necessarily would shut the door, but in a way, it depends on, say, for instance, your CV is completely planned. So I've got no digital marketing experience. I haven't demonstrated the fact that on the side, I haven't actually tried to learn anything myself. I haven't participated in any project myself. This is me, take whoever I am. Sure, but meanwhile, you're competing with 80 other people who also go, hey, I have no experience, but I've done, Google Analytics course. I've worked on this honors project. I've managed, Facebook account for my mom and dad for their small business. And this is when you stand out, and realistically speaking.
Great. Thanks, Jesse, and everyone. That's so helpful, because I try and tell a lot of the graduates that come through our program, if you're seeing entry-level roles that ask for 1 to 2 years experience and you feel like you're not there yet, apply. Just apply. Put yourself out there. You know you've done the work, you've got the confidence, you've done some projects, you've got a portfolio. You are going to stand out amongst the 80, 90 that might be applying for those roles. So just apply, and back yourself. And look, the worst situation that can happen is you get a learning experience through going to the interview and perhaps finding out that they're looking for someone a little bit more senior, and learning exactly where you sit in that frame. The interviews are very much a learning process for yourself, as well as a way to get a role. So hopefully that was helpful, Shona. Okay, so I wanted to touch on this topic, which has come up from a couple of the attendees, around the differences between digital marketing agencies and sort of client-side commercial firms, and specifically about the job opportunities in each of them. Is it easier to get your foot in the door in one versus the other? I assume we're going to have some different opinions here.
Look, I'm totally drinking the Kool-Aid about agency life. There's no doubt about it. I love everything that an agency has to offer. And when I moved to New York to work on the publisher side, obviously it's not client side, but it was a very traditional corporate publisher. You know, they've been around for 100 years, and it was a really, really big learning curve for me. And whilst I still love everything that I learned there, and, you know, they still had a great culture, and we still had, you know, nights where we all went to the pub and all of those fun things that agencies do, I have experienced so much more growth in agency than I would have ever experienced if I stayed that side. That's purely just because I don't feel like in agency land there's a corporate ladder to climb. I think that in agencies, it's easier to be identified for the skills that you're showcasing. And one of the pieces of advice that I give to my staff is figure out what it is that you want to be known for, and then make sure you become famous for that in your own agency. Because once you get a reputation for it, people will start coming to you for that. And it obviously just spirals out of control. In saying that, though, there are obviously less impressive sides to agency land, which I have definitely gone through. You know, it does require long hours sometimes. And, you know, there's all meme accounts on Instagram about how bad agency life is. But I would say that you need to find the right agency. And that's how I feel like coming to Digitas, working in other agencies. Digitas is honestly, it's a home to me now. And we care so much about our people. And I'm not just saying that because I have my own team that I run. Like, we genuinely do care about our people. And there are agencies that don't, and there are agencies that do. So I think you just need to really figure out who your agent, like which agency you want to join, and get a really good understanding of that. But my advice would be to go agency over corporate.
I would echo that. Like, agencies notoriously difficult because it is long hours. It is a lot of work. It's fast paced. You are jumping whenever the client says you need to jump. And a big reason why I originally left agency life was because I was quite burnt out, and needed a break. Like, it was a sabbatical that turned into now my life. But there is also a reason why I decided to essentially build my own agency and still do that, because it is dynamic, it is exciting, that there is a chance to kind of dive more into like the industry rather than the client in a way. So I feel much more aligned with like really thinking around what social is and how to make social better and like help our clients understand that. And saying that, like, I personally haven't had much in client side experience, so I can't say what that is like. But as Ashley said, like, it is important to just, check in on yourself as well. I think it's with any job, but, also agency, just because of the long hours, just to make sure you're putting your mental health first as well. It is ultimately just a job. It's okay. And finding the right team to support you is going to be so important.
Yeah, I also, sorry, Jesse, I know you probably have something to add, but I was just going to say that there are really easily identifiable red flags when you're interviewing at agencies as well. You know, if they're talking around the people and like long hours and like whether you're committed and all of that, like I don't expect anyone to be committed to my company 24/7. When I'm interviewing, I'm talking around like the work that we do, and that's the most important output. And I guess really digging deep into, like Tiff said, around like mental health initiatives and things like that, try and get a good understanding of how much they actually care about the people versus just getting someone to fill the role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are great perspective, ladies. I've actually haven't worked on agency side, so I can't answer anything about agency side at all, because all my previous roles are all on client side. They're in various size company, companies where it has, 50,000 people, where companies it's got, less than 50. I would say from a I guess client side, two key benefits I see is, first of all, if you work for a brand that you believe in, if you work for a brand that you feel like you can add value to people's life, your things that you do actually impacts people's life. Where I was at Bupa, one little campaign you run about healthy heart campaign, it impacts 2 million members and it feels great. Things that you can keep on pushing internally, things that you can help driving internally. It makes you feel good about being able to drive that initiative and keep that forward. There are definitely, downsides of client side where, for instance, at a corporate, sometimes launching a campaign require you to engage over 100 stakeholders. A lot of times about your internal storytelling as well. A lot of times about how do you get that initiative approved. And so that's working for a larger client side. And where I am at the moment, it's a much smaller company, so the decision gets made so much more quicker. In terms of growth, we are growing super quickly. So you get the benefit of, driving that growth yourself, but also at the same time, growing, hiring the team, seeing the team expand. You often go to a small company where it's just you to start with, and then you have 2 people, 3 people, 5 people. And if your role grows, you get to manage 5. So, you grow with the company as well. But yeah, I think, most importantly, if you're working on clients, you have to believe in what brand you are working for, and what does your brand stand for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's all around aligning your values with who you're working for. And I think when I was talking about red flags before as well, if you're asking what sort of commitment they bring to growth or what growth opportunities they are, and they say, oh, we do a yearly review and that's it, that is a red flag. Get the hell out of there, because you shouldn't be working for a company like that. You need to be at a place that is going to mentor and grow you, because if you're at the start of your career, that's what you need. And that's the only way that you're really going to get to where you want to be.
On the flip side, I'd also mention in terms of work produced, it's also kind of an interesting side for client versus agency. Not quite client side, but like for us, when we were kind of niching down into the social enterprise space, like it's great to have those networks and be in those communities, and you get really entrenched in all the language that they're using and marketing to those masses. But at the same time, marketing always has to still market to the lowest common denominator. So I think when you're in client side or just like really entrenched in those spaces, you can get a little bit too bogged down in those details versus when you're agency and are that step back. So thinking about it in that way, when you're thinking about the work you're actually producing, it's really important to also balance between, as a marketer, like as the marketing person for a brand, still being that middle ground between your audience and your client, and either side of the coin, you're going to just have to be really aware of how you're speaking about that.
Thanks, ladies. And just follow on from that question, because Mew asked just around, I guess, the difficulty of getting a foot in the door from on one side versus the other. It's probably a hard question to answer because every organization is different. And the other parts of this question is, how many opportunities are there? Is there more than one than the other? And again, I think that relates to just which companies are growing and hiring versus which agencies are. So probably hard to give a defined answer to that, but just quick thoughts from anyone if you've got an idea there.
Look, if you're looking to get your foot in the door, I think that's very different than if you're looking to build a career. So I think you have to get really clear on what you're trying to accomplish, because agencies are hiring just constantly. I know at the moment across publicists, I think we have 300 open roles, purely because we were on a hiring freeze during the pandemic. So a lot of that is there, but there are lots of opportunities to get roles, but that's not necessarily saying that is the right step for your career. I think it really comes down to aligning your values with the brand, because there's nothing worse than working for a brand that you don't truly believe in, whether that's client side or agency side, if they don't align.
Yeah, great. Just one reflection from my own experience, not necessarily a digital marketer, but I've worked in production when I was in agency land, then product management, and then more in sort of that entrepreneurial space. One way I like to define sort of the three different buckets that you can work in is agency land is a great place to get exposed to a lot of different types of campaigns, a lot of different types of advertising, marketing approaches. And I found that I learned extremely quickly in that space as an entry-level, employee. So that was a great start for me. And then moving to client side, I learned a whole different set of skills around sort of the depth of ownership of one particular product or brand for a long period of time, and the reporting requirements and the stakeholder management requirements that come with that level of ownership. And so, just depending on where you're at in your career, these are different things to think about. Then you've got the founder role, and that's pretty much all of the above with half the resources. So it's like,
oh my gosh, yes.
For all
never had it better described.
Cool. All right. Well, hopefully that helps you. I'm going to move on to the next question. And this is around, okay, so once you're in a role, right, and you're thinking about your direction in digital marketing, it's such a large landscape. This is a question from Lucy. How do you figure out which direction to head? Does it figure itself out, or after you start with the fundamentals and go from there?
I would say yes, it does figure itself out to some degree. I think that once you get in a role and you start getting exposed to different, I guess, areas, it might not align with what the vision for your career was going to be. I am a huge believer in following your gut instinct and following what feels good. I think that our bodies give us the most intuition possible. So if you're doing something and you're really enjoying it, look for more opportunities to do that. And if there are parts of your role that you don't like, look for a way that you can slowly transition out of them. I think that is just, it sounds so corny when you say it, but like following your bliss is what it's all about. Because if I followed my career path that I thought I should have been on, I would probably still be working at a traditional advertising TV company and not the head of social.
Yeah, I think it's more important to be thinking about personal development rather than career development, because it is about like you and your journey. One of the things I always love doing was like thinking about your zone of genius, right? So you want to operate the most in your zone of genius. It could be a hard skill or a soft skill, but being able to capitalize on that, that's what usually makes you happy. You're best able to contribute to the world with that, and you grow that. There was a point I was making with this and I've lost my thought. But yeah, I guess it's more around kind of trying to develop those skills, whether it be hard and soft, and where that takes you. Some things are just never going to be easy and fun. Sometimes you'll just have to do them. Like as a founder, now I have to do accounting and I'm like, it's rough, but it, takes me to where I need to be. But if you have an accountant, that'd be great. But yeah, like I think the more you can really understand what actually lights you up and what you can do, it can be like ultimately data mining and data analysis, and that can work in both social or whatever comes next. So really understanding from like a kind of cerebral level, like what is your zone of genius and what you can do for that means you're always open to whatever comes next, rather than that linear path of climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah, well, I'm a typical example of someone that has done SEO, performance marketing. I've done marketing campaigns, marketing technology. What else have I done? all sorts of, specialist stuff, and decided that I don't want to be a specialist. I want to be a general marketer, and that's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about amplifying the brand. And yeah, so had no idea that I'm going to be a marketing generalist. Had no idea, but I guess you will find out as you go through different areas. And if you don't find that you love it, move on. You eventually find something that you like.
Awesome. Next question is from Kevin. I'm older with over 20 years experience within film and storytelling, but feel I need to get more into digital marketing. Any tips on how I should approach it? I'm not a new graduate. That was a long time ago.
Look, I honestly, you would kind of be my dream hire, if I'm being honest with you. I think that there are so many like life lessons that you learn from just having a career in general, that if you did want to get into digital marketing, it's not a hard transition, because I'm sure you're already a pro at dealing with clients and having difficult conversations and all of those soft skills. So it's just a matter of, I guess, identifying what areas you want to go into and look for ways to explore that. I would also say that if you've been in that industry for 20 years, you would have so many connections that it's, as much as I hate to say, it is about who you know, and everyone is a potential connection or, a potential job opportunity. So start leveraging those, start reaching out to people and having conversations, because you never know where that could lead to. But yeah, I wouldn't let the fact that you've had a different career deter you from shifting. I know so many people that have jumped across and are some of our best staff ever, especially like a lot of what we do is creative led. So we look for people who have creative experience and brand storytelling and all of that, whether they have the digital marketing experience or not. So apply at Digitas is what I'm saying.
300 roles, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just got you a job.
Okay. Next question is from Annalise. And this is an interesting question because I want to get your thoughts, everyone, on personal brand. So how important are your personal social channels in applications?
Well, I hope they're not important, because I purposely have my private socials on private because I don't want clients judging me off the stuff I post on my Instagram or my TikTok either. Please, no one go looking for the channels because they're very embarrassing. I don't think that your personal representation and how you communicate with the people in your life are who you are professionally. So I don't even look at any of that. Yeah. I mean, I might if there's something that's of interest that I wanted to find out, like I don't even know what that would be, but I don't look at it to judge anyone's work. If you haven't listed it on your resume, I'm not going looking for it. And
I'm like, even our business socials are very lacking because I don't have the time to do them. Like we're focusing on our clients. So I hope you're not even judging my business socials as a reflection of what we can do as a business. But also running a brand social campaign versus a personal one is completely different. I've had people who try to go, well, I grew my page by double in a month. And I looked at the page. It was a personal one. They had 200 followers. And I was like, well, that's a very different game to go 100 people that now follow you versus building a brand presence and giving people a reason to follow a brand social. So I don't look at your personal socials at all. It just isn't the same. It's not the skill set that is relevant to doing brand socials anyways.
100%. That is some creative reporting though, saying doubled following.
Yeah.
I wonder if LinkedIn's consider personal social channel in a way that it's kind of lead generations. If you have the right keywords, right portfolios there, and it happens that a HR is looking for a marketing coordinator job, and for some reason there's not many people applying, they will be hunting for people. That's where I think LinkedIn may be useful. But once you've hand in your resume and they start interviewing you, it's less likely that it will go back to your LinkedIn. But in a way that if you have a LinkedIn profile, I tend to find people do knock on your door quite regularly. So yeah, do have it there if you consider that as a personal social channel. Obviously, share what's relevant professionally.
Yeah, that's actually such a good shout. I didn't think of LinkedIn when you mentioned personal social channels, but my number one piece of advice for anyone starting this career is add everybody you meet on LinkedIn. Find a reason to connect with them, even if you just come across them in passing, because I know with my team, when I'm looking for jobs, I post them on my page. And even if people are like commenting on some of the work that we're doing or anything, it just keeps your name top of mind and will keep reminding them of you. I think LinkedIn is so important for your professional brand and who I guess you want to be in market. So use it to your advantage as much as possible.
That's actually, yeah, not to backtrack on what I said, but yeah, like just not exactly personal branding, but just, you know, your networking in general is going to be so beneficial. Most of our clients, when we started out in the first 2 years, all came from personal recommendations and networking events, just because we were putting ourselves out there and they knew who I was and what I stood for. So in that sense, like personal brand in that sense, and like knowing who you are and, you know, what you can offer is really important. But you know, you don't have to worry about it if you posted a random Instagram story of a great meme. Like I'd probably actually hire you because of it, but that's a whole different conversation to have.
Yeah. And I think there are really good tactics that you can use on LinkedIn. Like say you meet someone at an event, like you're at a conference and you meet someone, or you just even saw them speak and it's someone that you wanted to connect with, send them a note and say, oh, I really appreciated what you said at XYZ or wherever you were, because then if you ever do need to approach them for a job that they've posted about or for anything else, it's actually in the history. So even if they don't reply, they're then going to see that and be like, oh, they've been around before, and they put the dots together, and it does make you stand out above anyone else.
Yeah, like networking's one thing, but if you're directly just cold applying for a position, I'm not going to check your socials, but do the long game and network.
Yeah. I'll check LinkedIn, not anything else.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. That was really helpful. Next question. I'm going to go through these a little faster now just because we're running out of time. This is from Lanny, who asks, how much Excel knowledge skills do you need to know for marketing? Should I just learn the basics in case some company needs me to use it? And can it also depend on which role, etc.?
I think it definitely depends on which role that you're going for. To be honest, like I use Excel on a daily basis. I by no means am a pro at it. I think Google's a great tool. Whenever I'm stuck on something, I just Google how to do it or look at a YouTube tutorial. There's also a really great TikTok account called the Excel Queen, which just shares hacks. I don't think that you need to be a pro at it to be in digital marketing. It's a great skill to have, but I'm not going to not hire someone because they're not a Excel whiz.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
And the whole Google is such a good tool. Like
Google everything.
fantastic. Yeah, especially juniors when you're like, I'm like, please just Google it. I don't have the time to really go through this tiny thing. Really, Google.
I sometimes Google words that I say on a regular basis that I just don't know how it's spelled. So
yeah, I think I echo what Ash just mentioned. Be resourceful, regardless of what it is, whether if it's, you know, Excel or setting up a Facebook campaign. Be resourceful. The answer's on the internet. Just find the answer and just practice. You'll be all right.
Awesome. Thanks all. Next question is from Victor, who asks, what are some of the biggest emerging trends that you've seen in the marketing industry, and how has the new iOS update impacted the effectiveness of your campaigns? Good question.
Over to the social marketers here.
Oh,
a lot. It's impacted us a lot. Tiff, I feel like I've been talking heaps. You go and I'll jump in after.
I mean, iOS, that sort of thing, like, to be honest, it's just another one of those things, let's be honest. I think, you know, for me and my business, a lot of the time we focus on organic first because we know we can't rely on anything that happens in paid, and focusing on communication, storytelling, brand is always going to help us weed through anything that happens. So while it does mean things change very dramatically, it does mean we're prepared for what's next. I do think, you know, the importance of videos, particularly Reel/TikTok, is a huge thing for us, whether it's a small business or a large corporation. The fact that Instagram has actually come out and said, we have an algorithm now and we're going to put videos first is going to be huge, and the fight for attention is going to be more and more important, particularly when you're working with organic clients and small businesses in particular. So really going back to the whys of marketing. Like there are a lot of, changing things with metaverses, iOS, TikToks and all of that. But at the same time, the more you're able to understand the fundamentals of communication and that social is just a communication tool, it will be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I tell myself to get to sleep. We'll be okay.
I'm probably on the other foot where paid is such a big part of everything that we do. Like we're running, $100 million through our Facebook ad account. So when iOS changes happen, it's a big deal for us, especially with like conversion based, any of our clients that are conversion based. But for us, I think the benefit is that we have really intense partnerships with all of the major social networks, which means it put us on the front foot. And if I wasn't in that situation, I think I would have been pulling my hair out because we could have relied on them a lot. But I think it goes back to the point that things are always changing. It made us really reevaluate how we communicate with our customers and how I guess we plan across that customer experience journey when so much of that normal process was changed. So that's obviously exciting, even though it was stressful at the time. And I think in terms of emerging trends, there are emerging trends legitimately on a daily basis. One of my clients asked me last week to send back a trends presentation I did 6 months ago. And I'm like, that's just not relevant anymore. Like it's so out of date that we would need to do a whole new one. I think the biggest one for us is definitely the metaverse. Every single one of our clients wants to get into the metaverse, even if they don't have a role to be playing, even if they don't understand what the metaverse is. I'm not sure if anyone fully does yet, to be honest. But they're looking for, I guess, those ways to go about it. Same with NFTs. Again, don't ask me what they are, but I think that a lot of those, I guess, online trends are really coming through in mainstream media. Like even today I was working on a game that pays you in crypto. Sounds like a scam. I'm still not convinced it's not a scam. But I think like a lot of those online trends are just coming through in everything that we're doing and how we communicate.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, two little things to add. I guess two things that I've seen from my end, I guess from a client side is number one, growing concerns on privacy ends from your customers. People don't want to see your ads. People don't want to be nudged. Consumers are smart. When you nudge them, they know. So you almost need to run anti-nudge campaigns. And secondly, brands are more focusing on long-term and sustainable growth rather than a big bang spend $4 million, for 3 weeks and not get anything back. I think there's more and more my peers just going for more of a long-term and sustainable growth perspective. Yeah.
And then on a general scale, that has fed into marketing as well, just brands wanting to do more good, either sustainability or giving back or taking a stand on social issues is a growing trend, I guess, across all businesses, but also in consumers wanting to see their brand step up. Particularly for our business, it has been about communicating that effectively, but also making sure that the work's done within the business for that. So there is a lot of, opportunity for greenwashing, pinkwashing, impact washing, basically a lot of very inauthentic communication out there. And so what we really make sure that we're doing with our clients as well is that, we're backed up with any claims that we make, that, as much as it's great to be able to jump in on trends of Earth Day or anything like that, that the business also steps up to make sure that they're also doing the work behind the scenes.
And I would put a call out for anyone following any brands, see what they do around Mardi Gras. If they are just adding a flag next to their name for the month or the week or whatever it is, but they don't do anything else throughout the year, that is, I think, exactly what Tiff is saying. If a brand isn't speaking true to the causes that they're standing behind, it comes across so inauthentic on everything that they're doing.
Awesome. So next question for everyone is from you. What are the main skills, personality traits that a successful entry-level digital marketer should have? What would you say is the ideal mix of technical versus analytical versus creative skills? Now, I just want to go first on this because we've done a lot of work in this space around trying to define what are some of the general competencies that you should be aiming for to be able to demonstrate as a starter in the digital marketing space. And we've built an employability scorecard where we got input from a lot of different hiring managers around Australia to basically tell us what are the capability ranges in different technical skills, but also behavioral skills. So this tool, I guess, looks at probably 40% of the skills being technical in the sense of what digital marketing skills do you have, but the rest and the vast majority is attitudinal, like we've been saying throughout the night. These are things like communication. Do you demonstrate a growth mindset? What's your resilience? Your ability to self-reflect. A lot of these skills are difficult to assess in an exam format, but do emerge in general conversation, in collaborating on projects with each other, and that determines sort of what what the level of fit you will have for a particular role. I'll put a link in the chat. It's a free tool. You can do a self-assessment and see where you currently sit, and it will actually map you to salary range. So it's a really useful tool, and we use it as part of our assessment process at Harness. So as you complete projects with us, we give you a bit of an idea of how you're developing on those skills, so you can graduate feeling confident that you can start applying for a job at a certain seniority range. So hopefully that's helpful. But over to the panel, any thoughts on the skill mix that you're looking for in those entry-level roles?
I'll jump in and say one is like critical thinking around, really why we're doing things, how can we do better, and just really questioning things. I think particularly one of those things around, greenwashing and making sure that we're not falling into that trap has to come down from like just people taking a step back and really thinking about it rather than just going with emotions, which I find when you're churning out a lot of content or anything like that, like can happen. And then for me, attention to detail. Social moves so quickly, and as a small business, we are doing so many things at one time. And just having like Grammarly or spell check on things makes such a big difference. Like it just sets a more professional tone on everything, but also just is something that I know that I can, an entry-level person has that attention to detail. I have more trust in them to be able to just hand things off and not have to check things a million times. So those two things have been the most important to me over the past couple of years. And then everything else can kind of be taught and mentored.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I think 3 words: get things done. I think essentially you're hired to help the company to grow, whatever, the cause to grow, the clients to grow, get things done. That's why that's why I'm hired. That's why, all of us are hired. And that's why the entry level role is high. So get things done. Most importantly, if you got given 10 things, get 12 things done. That would be super.
Oh, and one more thing, communication. With how long things are taking, how things are working, particularly when we're working remotely, I just don't really know how you're doing, and I want to be able to trust you to be able to do it well. But without that communication, that's always going to be really difficult. So over communicate, if anything, and manage up, because I'm just going to assume you're doing fine until you're not.
Managing up is the number one skill that I need my staff to have, because I cannot stand micromanaging anyone at all. And I'm also really bad at it. So I really need that communication. So I think that's such a fair point.
Last 2 questions. One is from Anonymous. I'm doing a job in digital marketing as a digital marketing specialist, 2 years, but I'm not sure how I will grow my career in digital marketing. Do I go niche or learn all of the things like Facebook paid, SEO, Google paid, etc.?
I think that's such a personal question. Like I don't think I can give an answer to you. I think you need to take a look at everything that you have been doing. If you are working as a digital marketing specialist, look at the parts of the job that you like the most, and then I guess look at other people's roles as well. So, if you're working in a company, take someone out for a coffee and get an understanding of what they do. Talk to someone in a completely different team and start opening up those conversations so that you can learn more about it. And that will help you identify, I guess, where you want to go. And then just follow your gut on it. Follow whatever you're having the most fun doing, and then look at developing those skills more.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's good to know your bit and really develop your skills, but it is also really good to know what else is out there. Our strategies look at the whole ecosystem. So as much as we're touching base with social clients on Instagram every day, ultimately the role might be to then get them onto the website and subscribe to the newsletter. So having an understanding of email marketing is still really important. Doing paid, as much as it's great to know all the numbers, having, a creative mindset to that can help you better create strategies around that as well. So all of my work has always been enhanced with actually understanding the other parts of the ecosystem. I don't need to know all the depths, and I am willing to know that I don't know email flows at all and bring in experts at that point. But a general understanding can really enforce how well you do your part as well.
Great, thanks all. A question from Eliana. With so many changes in digital, how do you ensure your teams stay up to date and current?
Such a good question. And to be honest, it's a constant battle. I think within my team, we've obviously introduced a lot of different knowledge sharing systems. So we obviously do lunch and learns, and we're partnered with a lot of the major networks who can come in and, keep us up to date on changes and things like that. But we also have a process called Connected Thursdays, which there's a reason it's called that. It sounds really lame when you say it like that, but essentially every Thursday, someone in Digitas runs a session that could be on legitimately anything. Like someone did a Dungeons and Dragons session and how that applies to strategy, and just from one of our juniors. So we try and knowledge share as much as possible. And I think if you're working in a team that's a specialism, look for those opportunities to really share that. If you have an SEO team and you don't know enough about them, look for those ways that you can share information between and start teaching other people, because once you start sharing what you know, other people will share back.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that marketing is still about talking to normal people, not just other marketers. So whatever other things you bring into the table is really important and a really great way to think about things in different ways. So for us, it's also making sure our teams are really diverse, but also when we're brainstorming or chatting about ideas, I go to a lot of masterminds with people who aren't marketers as well. So the more you can just kind of expose yourself to different things, read about different things, divulge into all your hobbies and weird stuff, it's really good because you might be bringing something completely new to the team.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right, I want to pivot now before we wrap up, just to give you a bit of information on what's coming up at Harness projects that might be of interest to you if you are looking at making a move into digital marketing or upskilling in this area. We're very fortunate to have Ashley, who's on the panel, will be mentoring one of the first projects in our next Career Launcher course. Just to give you some context, I'll share screen just briefly. Our Career Launcher course is a 6-month program where we teach digital marketing skills while students work on live projects. And we have a very strong focus on projects that have a social outcome, an environmental outcome, things that influence not just the learning experience, but communities around us. And so February 23rd, we're kicking off with the Digital Marketing Career Launcher. The way it works at Harness Projects is first project is a 9-week project where we cover the fundamentals of digital marketing. And that's the project that Ashley will be mentoring, and she'll be guiding you through how to apply what you're learning to a project with an organization called Young Change Agents. They're a really awesome organization that do a lot of work with young people around helping them build skills in entrepreneurial sort of areas. And their specific digital marketing brief is to look at how they can get better engagement from local councils to support some of the education work that they do. So this is a really rich digital marketing type of brief for our students to sink their teeth into, come up with a strategy and meet this client and go through what it would be like to be a digital marketer. This is the type of things that we do at Harness Projects, and over the next 2 projects, we then dive into some other areas. So social media marketing is project 2 for 7 weeks, and that is with Landcare Australia. And the final project is with About My Brain, and that will cover search engine marketing. By the end of this course, the idea is to have a full portfolio of projects that, as well as the confidence to have these skills and to go out there and start applying for jobs. We include a 90-day job guarantee. So if you don't land a job within 90 days of finishing this program, we'll bring you back onto another project at no cost to you. It's our investment into our students, because we know that this is one of the best ways to prepare yourself for just having the confidence to apply, showing that you've got some hands-on experience, some work under your belt, and go from there. So just thought I'd share that. The other good news for those who have attended is we've got some scholarship places available for this program. So this is something that we've been working closely with our partners on, and we're able to subsidize 20% off the course fees for successful scholarship applicants. So I'll send a link in the chat. This is really a 10-question process that we have to go through just to determine your eligibility. And obviously we're going to try and support those who need the most support, and we'll speak to our partners and come back to you usually within about 48 hours to let you know if you've been successful, and then no obligation, but if you do want to join the course, you're free to do that at the subsidy rate. So that's all from me on just the course side of things. I thought it might be worth just sharing that. Any last comments from the panel? Really appreciate your time. Any sort of parting words do you have for our audience?
Oh, look, I've had so much fun. It went so quickly just talking. So, I mean, look, if anyone is interested to learn more, I would love to see you guys be part of the course. I also have a really bad habit of hiring people I mentor. So if you are looking for a job, it might be a good idea. But honestly, I think my parting words would just be yourself in everything that you do and stay true to who you are. I think it's so important to know who you are and know what you want. And it's obviously very overwhelming when you're at the beginning of your career or looking to shift, I guess, direction in your career to really know where to go, but just follow your gut. I feel like I say this a lot to my team, is that what we do isn't rocket science. It's supposed to be fun most of the time. But no, we're not brain surgeons who are operating on people. We're here talking to people. That's all we do all we do is communicate. So if you're able to communicate and you're passionate about what you do, then that's going to come through. So just be yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's such great advice, and like really understanding what you want and going for it, taking every opportunity as you can. That's the best advice.
Yeah, I agree. Jump on any opportunities that you see and you'll be fine.
Thanks all. Again, thanks for your time. It's been really insightful, and thank you for everyone who attended. I hope those questions and answers were useful to you to support your next step in life in digital marketing. We will send out a recording of this session via email to our newsletter list in the next few days, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, if you want to have a chat, you can always reach out to us at Harness Projects. Just email me at info@harnessprojects.com.au. So have a lovely evening, everyone. We'll let you go, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.